this year. Most years it doesn't, but it did this year. Last week, on the 22nd of November, 27 years ago, President John F. Kennedy, Jack Kennedy, was assassinated. Now, as you know, he was shot while driving in an open-topped limousine in Dallas, Texas. His wife, Jackie, was by his side. But if Jackie had been trained to cope with that situation, it is conceivable, just conceivable, that Jack Kennedy's life might have been saved. That's according to my next guest, who's Director of Training at the International Bodyguard Association, which is based in Surrey. He's of Irish stock, and what's more, he almost became a Capuchin monk until life pointed him in a somewhat less priestly direction. Will you welcome, please, Jim Short? Jim, very welcome. Over here. Jim, exactly what does the International Bodyguard Association do?
Well, the association was founded in 1957 by one of General de Gaulle's bodyguards, Major Lucien Ott. The job primarily is to standardize the training of bodyguards at diplomatic level throughout the world.
What sort of training do they get?
Besides the kind of things you'd expect, i.e. firearms and unarmed combat, they go on to train in paramedicine. They train in the recognition of improvised explosive devices, detection of room and telephone bugs, escort drills, vehicle and pedestrian.
What sort of firearms now would they have to be masters of?
Primarily small arms, i.e. pistols, and in certain situations sort of they would have to use everything from sort of sniper rifles in counter-sniper operations, i.e. the kind of Kennedy situation we talked about.
What about if an assailant just walked up in a corridor, how well are they qualified to deal with them unarmed combat?
Well, they're trained primarily, I mean, quite often you can't go around carrying a firearm in your hand. So it's in a holster. It's virtually impossible to get a weapon out in time when someone just suddenly comes forward with a weapon. So the guys are primarily trained to just go for the character, to put them on the floor as fast as possible.
How discreet are they? Because in all the caricatures of you fellows, the heavy, and you can spot them a mile off, which is not particularly good. If someone wants to take him out, they can take him out from a distance, for example, if they can spot the bodyguard.
Well, we actually have a thing we call the bodyguard the grey man. The idea is he's not there to stand out.
Yeah, we have a picture here actually now, and Jim is in there, in the center, wearing the shades, right? Now tell us about the rest of them, Jim.
Well, actually that's a bodyguard team looking after President Arnold Rutel, one of the Baltic Republic's presidents. That's outside the Finnish President's Palace in Helsinki. And there's a mixed team from both the Estonian Secret Service and some Finnish guys there. Primarily, I mean, they're providing an all-round cover in what's called a debusing operation, getting him as quickly as possible from the vehicle inside the President's Palace, because...
That's a vulnerable moment.
Yeah, I mean, basically N-busing, getting into a vehicle and getting out are the most vulnerable, because they may not know your route, but they know where you're going and when you're coming from.
Right, so they know you've got to enter at some point. So all these men are looking in different directions. They would all be armed to the teeth, would they?
They're all, in that particular situation, they're all carrying a pistol.
Right. Some more pictures I have of you here. Maybe you'll talk me through them. This one here, black and white picture.
I was the first Westerner to go to the Soviet Airborne Forces Academy at Ryazan, where they do sort of parachute and special forces training. So I was one of the first to go through their training program in Russia.
Okay, and another one here, an action shot again.
That was out last December in Papua New Guinea, in charge of anti-bandit operations in one of the jungle areas in the north.
Okay, and this one here now looks nice. Looks like a lovely place to visit, except for the weapon.
It is. That's actually just above the town of Host during the operation, the Russian offensive. Before I went to the Soviet Union, I was invited there actually by the guy who was looking for us. We were in helping the Mujahideen, who had, they suffered a great number of casualties at a place called Host. So we were actually running training teams for them.
So you were actually on the opposite side to the Soviets? When
Yes, before.
And we have a shot of you actually with some of the Mujahideen.
That's right, that's at Gardez in
operational
Afghanistan.
Now, I want to go back to that Jack Kennedy assassination 27 years ago, because I said that you reckon that he needn't necessarily have died, and we have the video clip of that. So we'll have a look at it now, and maybe you'll talk us through exactly what was happening here. Now, they're driving along, smiling, waving, open-topped car. And again, coming along.
He's hit for the first time,
there.
And he falls over on top of Jackie. She pushes him back upright. Instead of pushing him onto the floor, she would have been trained to, and then he said by the second shot, was the one that killed him. We actually use that in training programs to actually show how important it is to train the VIP and the family how
There's
to
the
respond.
second shot there. Just
That's right.
virtually took his head off.
If at that point, it happened with the Pope as well. When the Pope was struck the first time, his bodyguards jumped onto the vehicle and lifted him up because he was falling down, and that made him a target for the second shot.
Right. So if Jackie had been trained by the Secret Service or whatever to, if he was hit, to take him down out
They
of,
should just push him onto the floor so he's no longer a target.
and yet the instinct is, the woman, the instinct would be to cradle him and to hold him.
To push him upright because he's falling over. I mean, at that time, she may not have heard the shot, and she must have thought he'd stumbled or fallen or something. Yeah. But it's like anything, it takes training. It's not something that comes as a natural instinct.
How did you get into all of this?
Through the founder of the Bodyguard Association, Major Lucien Ott.
But before that, I mean, were you interested in martial arts, or?
Yes, I've been involved in martial arts. My father, who's a cove man, introduced me to martial arts back in 1959 when I was age 6, and I've been involved in martial arts ever since. And
how did you almost become a Capuchin monk in the meantime?
I first trained over here, sort of, with the help of the Young Priests Association. I was sort of based in Kilkenny, and I was sort of going for the priesthood, and I switched to the Capuchins because I sort of had read a lot less in France and was very interested. And for a considerable period of time, I pursued what I thought was a vocation. I changed my mind further down the line.
You certainly did. We have actually one of your priestly colleagues with us, Father Martin from Ballymun. Hello, Father Martin.
Oh, yes.
Do you remember this man?
We both entered the Capuchins at the same time. Actually, when I entered, Seamus was the first person to meet me the evening I went in.
So he was Seamus in those days?
That's right.
He's Jim now?
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, the word Seamus does tend to make people jump around the world, I tell you.
Go on.
And there's one particular incident I can remember. We were in Cork, both going to university at this stage. But Seamus had set up a kind of a club for jiu-jitsu in the monastery. And he had this beautiful sword made of wood for his practice. There was this particular day we were both out in the back garden in the monastery, and Seamus was out there with his sword. So I went down to him and picked up a huge branch of a tree, and we began sword fighting together, messing around. And next minute I broke his beautiful sword.
Oh.
And you want to see me move out of the place? I was gone like a rocket.
I got my revenge, though, because on another occasion we were late getting back into the monastery, and there was a monastery wall to get back over, and nothing else was open. So I gave Father Martin a helping hand up onto the wall, and then proceeded to push him over the top, right into the hands of the vocations director.
It's a far cry from Father Martin and the priestly life you are today. Ever strike you what you might have been doing today?
I'll leave that to Father Martin. He's handling outside. He's got Ballymun. That's big enough.
That's big enough.